My son told me not to walk him down the aisle at his wedding. Said his girlfriend's rich mom was a better look. I sat quietly in the last pew and watched. 1 year later, he needed me. What happened next changed everything. Let me tell you the whole story. First, thank you for watching Granny's Voice. Your support means the world to us. If you like our stories, please hit that subscribe button. Tell us in the comments what city you're watching from. We might give you a shout out next time. Today's special shout out goes to Emma Rodriguez from Miami. We love having you here. Now let's dive into this story. People say a son's first hero is his mom. I believed that for 30 years. After his dad left when Tommy was just 5, it was me and him against the world. I was 28, scared, standing in our empty apartment with boxes everywhere and a little boy asking why Daddy wasn't coming home. I made a promise that day. You'll never wonder if someone loves you. Not while I'm here. For 25 years I kept that promise. I didn't spoil him or give him things we couldn't afford. But I showed up to every baseball game, every school play, every scraped knee and broken heart. I packed his lunch every day. I taught him to drive in our old Honda. I helped him build that science project volcano that took over our kitchen table for weeks. He called me Mama until high school. Even when he switched to Mom, I could still see the love in his eyes. But somewhere along the way, that love got mixed up with shame. He started caring more about what things looked like than what they meant. I wasn't poor. I worked hard as a nurse, owned our little house, saved every penny I could. But I wasn't fancy. No designer clothes, no country club, no networking parties. Just a woman who worked night shifts and read him bedtime stories. The change started when he got serious with Jessica, his girlfriend. First time I met her, she looked me up and down like I was something stuck to her shoe. Tommy didn't say anything when she made that face. That should have been my first warning. The second warning came at her parents' house for dinner. They had a mansion with marble floors and paintings that cost more than my car. That night, Tommy barely talked to me. He was too busy trying to fit in with her family and their rich friends. When he introduced me, he said, "This is my mom, Linda. She works in healthcare." Healthcare. Like I was embarrassed to be a nurse. But nothing prepared me for what came next. We were sitting in my kitchen on a Sunday morning. I was making pancakes like I did every weekend when he was little. He was drinking coffee and looking nervous. "Mom," he said suddenly, "I need to talk to you about the wedding." "Sure, honey," I said, flipping a pancake. "What about it?" He looked down at his hands. "Well, Jessica and I were talking. We think it would look better if her mom walked me down the aisle instead." I almost dropped the spatula. "What do you mean, better?" "Just, her family is paying for everything. A lot of important people will be there. Business people. Her mom knows how to handle these things." I turned off the stove and looked at him. Really looked at him. "So after raising you by myself for 25 years, I'm not good enough to walk you down the aisle because I don't have money?" "That's not what I meant," he mumbled. "Then what did you mean?" I asked. He couldn't look at me. "Just one day, Mom. Just one moment." "No," I said quietly. "It's the moment. It's the moment you tell the world who matters to you. And you just told me it's not me." "Mom, you're being dramatic." "Am I?" I asked. "Then explain it to me. Make me understand how the woman who raised you isn't fit to stand beside you on your wedding day." He got up from the table. "Why can't you just be happy for me?" "I'm happy for you," I said. "But I'm also hurt. And disappointed. You're choosing image over love. You're picking what looks good over what is good." He grabbed his jacket. "I knew you'd make this about you." "I'm not making it about me," I said. "You made it about me when you decided I wasn't good enough." He left without another word. That afternoon, I went to my bedroom and opened the shoebox under my bed. Inside was every penny I'd saved for his wedding. 3 years of extra shifts, skipped dinners out, old shoes instead of new ones. $15,000. I took that money and opened a savings account just for me. When the wedding day came, I didn't fight it. I put on my best dress, the navy blue one I wore to graduations and church. I did my hair nice and drove to the fancy venue they'd chosen. I sat in the very last row, alone, watching my son get walked down the aisle by a woman in $1,000 dress who barely knew him. People whispered and pointed. They wondered who I was and why I was sitting so far back. I didn't care. I watched Jessica's mom hold my son's arm like she'd earned the right. I watched my boy smile at cameras instead of looking for me in the crowd. My heart broke that day, but I didn't cry. Not there. After the ceremony, people took pictures. I wasn't invited into any of them. I stood by myself near the parking lot just watching. Tommy found me before I could leave. He walked over in his fancy tuxedo, looking uncomfortable. "Mom," he said. "Thanks for coming." "Of course I came," I told him. "You're my son." He shifted his weight. "I know today was different, but I hope you understand." "I understand perfectly," I said. "You made your choice. Now I get to make mine." "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I love you, but I won't beg for a place in your life anymore." He opened his mouth to say something, but I was already walking to my car. That night, I sat at my kitchen table with a cup of tea and my laptop. I looked up travel websites and vacation packages. Beach trips, mountain cabins, city tours. All the places I dreamed of seeing but never went because I was saving for his future. The future where I apparently didn't belong. I booked a 2-week cruise to Alaska. Then I booked a weekend in New York City. Then I signed up for painting classes I'd wanted to take for years. The money I'd saved for his wedding. It was mine now. And I was going to use every penny on myself. The months that followed were quiet. Tommy called a few times, but our conversations were short and awkward. He'd ask how I was doing, I'd say fine, and then we'd run out of things to say. I didn't ask about Jessica or their new apartment or their fancy married life. If he wanted to share, he could. But I wasn't going to pretend everything was normal when it wasn't. Kept busy. I took those painting classes and discovered I was actually pretty good at it. I went on my cruise and watched whales jump out of the ocean. I made new friends who liked me just the way I was. I didn't need their approval or their money. I just needed to remember who I was before I became someone's mother. Then one morning my phone rang. It was early, too early for a social call. I looked at the screen and saw Tommy's name. My heart jumped. Had something happened? Was he hurt? I answered on the second ring. "Tommy, what's wrong?" "Mom," he said, and his voice was shaking. "Can I come over? We need to talk." "Course," I said. "Are you okay? Can I come over now?" 20 minutes later he was at my door. He looked terrible. His hair was messy, his clothes wrinkled. His eyes red like he'd been crying. I let him in and made coffee while he sat at the kitchen table with his head in his hands. When I set the coffee down, he looked up at me. "Jessica left me," he said. "She took everything and moved back in with her parents." "I don't understand," I said, sitting down across from him. "I thought you were happy." "We were," he said. "Least I thought we were. But last month, her dad's business got investigated by the government. Turns out they were stealing money. Jessica's whole family might go to jail. The second that happened, her friends stopped calling. The fancy parties stopped. The money dried up. And Jessica, she blamed me. She said I wasn't successful enough to take care of her without her family's help. She said I was just a disappointment. She called me a failure, Mom. Said she wasted her time on someone who would never amount to anything. Then she packed her bags and left. Took the wedding gifts, the furniture, even the car that was in both our names. I'm living in a studio apartment now. Sleeping on an air mattress. I lost my job too. Her dad had gotten me hired at his company, and when the investigation started, they fired everyone connected to the family. I don't have anyone left. I looked at my son, really looked at him. The fancy clothes were gone. The confident smile was gone. He looked like the scared little boy who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms. "I'm sorry that happened to you," I said quietly. "Sounds really hard." He nodded, wiping his nose with his sleeve. "I know I don't deserve to ask, but could I maybe stay here for a while? Just until I get back on my feet." I thought about it for a long minute. My house was quiet now. Peaceful. I'd built a life that was just mine, without drama or disappointment. Letting him back in would change that. It would mean risking my heart again with someone who'd already broken it once. But looking at him sitting there, broken and alone, I saw something I hadn't seen in years. I saw someone who was finally learning what really mattered. "You can stay," I said. "But we need to have some rules." He looked up hopefully. "Anything, Mom. I'll do anything." "First," I said, "this isn't permanent. You'll help with groceries and housework while you look for a job. Second, you'll treat me with respect. Not like I'm something to be ashamed of. And third, you'll go to counseling. You need to figure out why you thought I wasn't good enough, because that hurt me more than you know." He nodded quickly. "Yes, absolutely. Whatever you want." "I don't want whatever I want," I said. "I want you to want it too. I want you to understand that love isn't about money or status. It's about showing up. It's about being there when things get hard." That first week was awkward. We were like strangers living in the same house. He slept in his old room, but everything was different now. The baseball trophies and school pictures seemed to belong to a different person. We were both trying to figure out how to be around each other again. But slowly things started to change. He got a job at a hardware store. Not glamorous but honest work. He helped me paint the kitchen and fix the leaky faucet I'd been ignoring for months. We started eating dinner together again, something we hadn't done in years. One evening, we were washing dishes together when he said something that surprised me. "You know what I missed most about home?" I looked at him. "What?" "Your pancakes," he said with a small smile. "Jessica never wanted to eat breakfast together. Said it was too many carbs or something. But I remembered how we used to sit at this table every Sunday morning, and you'd make shapes with the pancakes. Hearts and stars, and once you tried to make a dinosaur." I laughed despite myself. That dinosaur looked more like a blob. "It was perfect," he said quietly. "Everything about those mornings was perfect, and I didn't appreciate it then." The counseling helped. He started talking about how he'd felt embarrassed of our simple life when he saw what Jessica's family had. How he'd convinced himself that having more money would make him more worthy of love. How he'd been so focused on impressing people who didn't really care about him that he'd hurt the one person who did. It wasn't easy to hear, but it was necessary. We both had to face the truth about what had happened and why. I had to admit that I'd been angry. Not just hurt, but truly angry. And he had to admit that he'd been ashamed of me. Those were hard conversations, but they were honest ones. 3 months after he moved back in, Tommy came home from work with a strange look on his face. He sat down at the kitchen table and pulled out his phone. "Mom," he said, "I need to show you something." He opened up social media and showed me Jessica's profile. She was posting pictures from some tropical vacation with a new guy. Designer clothes, expensive restaurants, the same kind of show-off posts she'd always made. But in the comments, people were asking where she got the money for the trip. Someone had posted an article about her dad's trial. Her whole family's assets had been frozen by the government. The vacation photos were fake, borrowed clothes. Restaurant photos from the internet. "She's pretending," Tommy said quietly. "Even now, she's still pretending." He put his phone away and looked at me. I could have been doing that too. Living a fake life, pretending to be someone I'm not, all to impress people who don't matter. I almost threw away the only real thing I had. I reached across the table and took his hand. "But you didn't," I said. "You came home." That took courage. He squeezed my hand. "I'm sorry, Mom. For all of it. For being ashamed of you, for choosing appearances over love, for hurting you. You deserved so much better from me." "I know," I said simply. "But I also know you're not that person anymore." That weekend, we did something we hadn't done in years. We went to the park where I used to take him when he was little. The same park where he'd learned to ride his bike and where we'd fed the ducks every Saturday morning. We sat on our old bench and watched families play together. Kids running around while their parents cheered them on. It reminded me of simpler times, when all Tommy needed was a push on the swing and a hug when he fell down. "I've been thinking," he said as we watched the sunset. "About what?" "About the wedding. About that day." He took a deep breath. "I wish I could do it over. I wish I had asked you to walk me down the aisle like I should have." I looked at him sideways. But you can't do it over. That's the thing about choices. They're permanent. I know, he said. But if I ever get married again, if I ever find someone who loves me for who I really am, not what I can pretend to be, would you walk me down the aisle then? Smiled. In my old dress from the discount store? In your beautiful old dress, he said firmly. And I'd be proud to have you there. Not because you look like everyone else, but because you're my mom. Because you're the person who taught me right from wrong, even when I forgot the lessons for a while. 6 months later, Tommy moved into his own apartment. Not a fancy place, just a simple one-bedroom near his job. He'd saved enough money for a deposit and first month's rent. I helped him move in, brought him some dishes and towels and a plant for his windowsill. It wasn't much, but it was his. Earned honestly, with no one's help but his own hard work. The night after he moved out, I sat in my quiet house and realized something. I wasn't lonely. I wasn't sad. I was proud. Proud of him for learning to stand on his own feet. Proud of myself for holding firm when it mattered. Sometimes the best gift you can give someone is the chance to find their way back to who they're supposed to be. These days, Tommy calls me every Sunday morning. Not because he needs anything, but because he wants to talk. He tells me about his job, his new friends, the woman he's been dating who works at the library. She sounds nice, kind and smart and real. The kind of person who would love him for who he is, not what he has. He asks about my painting classes and my book club and my plans for the weekend. We're building something new together. Not the same relationship we had when he was a child, but something better. Something based on mutual respect and honest love. Last month, he brought his girlfriend Sarah to meet me. She was nervous, fidgeting with her purse strap and asking if she could help with anything. I made my famous spaghetti and meatballs. Nothing fancy, just comfort food made with love. We sat around my little kitchen table, the same one where Tommy used to do his homework while I cooked dinner after work. Sarah asked about the paintings on my walls, the ones I'd done in my art classes. She genuinely seemed interested, asking about techniques and colors and inspiration. Tommy watched us talk with a smile on his face. Not the fake smile he used to wear at Jessica's fancy parties, but a real one. After dinner, Sarah insisted on helping with the dishes while Tommy went outside to take a work call. As we washed and dried together, she said something that surprised me. Tommy talks about you all the time. About how strong you are, how you raised him by yourself, how you never gave up on him even when he made mistakes. He's really proud of you. I looked at her, this sweet girl with flour on her apron from helping me make dessert. That means a lot, I said. He went through a phase where he wasn't so proud. She nodded. He told me about the wedding. About how he hurt you. He regrets it every day. But he said it taught him what really matters. That having someone who loves you unconditionally is worth more than all the money in the world. When they left that night, Tommy hugged me tight at the door. Thank you, Mom, he whispered. For what? For not giving up on me. For letting me come home when I had nowhere else to go. For teaching me that real love doesn't depend on how much money you have or what other people think. For being exactly who you are and never apologizing for it. I hugged him back, breathing in the familiar smell of his cologne mixed with the scent of home. That's what moms do, I said. We love you through the mess until you find your way back to yourself. And I meant it. Every word. 3 weeks ago, Tommy called me on a Tuesday evening. He sounded excited, like he had good news to share. Mom, he said, I have something to ask you. Sarah and I are talking about getting engaged. Nothing's happened yet, but when it does, when we plan the wedding, would you walk me down the aisle? My heart swelled up with so much happiness I thought it might burst. Course I would, I said. I would be honored. Good, he said, and I could hear the smile in his voice. Because I can't imagine anyone else doing it. You're the one who made me who I am. The good parts, anyway. You deserve to be right there beside me when I start the next chapter of my life. This time will be different, I know it will. This time, when I walk him down the aisle, it won't be about what looks good to other people. It won't be about impressing anyone or putting on a show. It will be about a son honoring his mother and a mother celebrating her son's happiness. It will be about love in its purest form, The kind that forgives, the kind that endures, the kind that says, "I'll be here no matter what." And when people ask who I am, Tommy won't say, "She works in healthcare." He'll say, "This is my mom, Linda. She's the strongest woman I know, and I'm lucky she raised me." Looking back now, I'm grateful for that painful day at his first wedding. Not because I enjoyed being hurt, but because it taught us both something important. It taught Tommy that real love can't be bought or traded or upgraded. And it taught me that sometimes you have to let people walk away from you so they can find their way back. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is hold your ground and wait for them to realize what they've lost. Sometimes standing firm in your worth is the greatest gift you can give someone, even if they don't appreciate it right away. The money I saved for his first wedding. I spent every penny on myself, and I don't regret it for a second. I took that cruise to Alaska and saw glaciers that had been there for thousands of years. I went to New York and saw Broadway shows and ate pizza from street vendors. I took painting classes and discovered I had talent I never knew existed. I learned that I was more than just someone's mother. I was a whole person with dreams and interests and value all on my own. When you stop waiting for other people to validate your worth, you start to see yourself clearly for the first time. Now when people ask me about that time when Tommy chose someone else to walk him down the aisle, I don't feel bitter anymore. Feel proud. Proud that I stood up for myself. Proud that I didn't beg or plead or compromise my dignity. Proud that I showed him what self-respect looks like. And mostly I feel proud of him. For having the courage to admit he was wrong. For doing the hard work to understand why he made that choice. For choosing love over appearances in the end. For becoming the man I always knew he could be. These days, our relationship is stronger than it's ever been. Not because we pretend the hurt never happened, but because we work through it together. We talk about hard things now. We're honest about our feelings. We don't just love each other, we like each other. We choose to spend time together not out of obligation, but because we genuinely enjoy each other's company. That's something money can't buy and status can't fake. That's real love, the kind that lasts through everything life throws at you. Last Sunday, Tommy came over for our usual pancake breakfast. But this time he brought Sarah with him. As I mixed the batter, he told her stories about our Sunday morning tradition. How I used to make pancakes in different shapes. How we'd read the funny papers together. How those quiet mornings were his favorite part of the whole week. Sarah listened with genuine interest, asking questions and laughing at his stories. When I set down a plate of heart-shaped pancakes in front of her, she smiled like I'd given her something precious. "These are perfect," she said. "I can see why Tommy loves them so much." After breakfast, as we all sat around the table drinking coffee and talking about their plans for the week, I looked at Tommy and saw something I hadn't seen in years. I saw contentment. Not the fake happiness he'd tried to project when he was with Jessica, but real peace. The kind that comes from being accepted exactly as you are. The kind that comes from loving someone who loves you back without conditions or requirements. The kind that comes from knowing you're home. And watching him with Sarah, seeing how gentle he was with her and how she looked at him like he was everything she'd ever wanted, I knew he'd finally learned the lesson I'd been trying to teach him his whole life. Love isn't about what you can provide or how you look on paper. Love is about showing up. It's about being there when things get hard. It's about choosing someone again and again, through good times and bad times and boring Tuesday nights when there's nothing special happening. It's about seeing someone's flaws and choosing them anyway. It's about building something real together, not just taking pictures for social media. Tommy learned that lesson the hard way, but he learned it. And now he gets to live it with someone who deserves the man he's become. I still have the dress I wore to his first wedding, the navy blue one that didn't cost enough to impress anyone. I've kept it in my closet, waiting for the right occasion to wear it again. Soon I'll take it out and have it cleaned and pressed. I'll put it on again, but this time it will mean something completely different. This time it will represent victory. Not the victory of being chosen over someone else, but the victory of standing firm in my worth until someone else recognized it too. The victory of loving someone enough to let them go and find their way back. The victory of being exactly who I am and never apologizing for it. When I walked Tommy down the aisle this time, I won't be thinking about the people watching or what they might whisper about. I won't be thinking about whether my dress is expensive enough or my shoes are shiny enough. I'll be thinking about the little boy who used to hold my hand crossing the street. I'll be thinking about the young man who called me every day from college just to hear my voice. I'll be thinking about the son who came home broken and let me help put him back together. I'll be thinking about love in all its forms. The love that disciplines, the love that forgives, the love that endures. And when the officiant asks who gives this man to be married, I'll say proudly, his mother does. Not because I own him or because I'm losing him, but because I helped make him into someone worthy of real love. Because I taught him right from wrong and he finally learned the difference. Because after all these years and all these mistakes and all this hurt, we found our way back to each other. We found our way back to love. And that's worth more than any amount of money or status or approval from people who don't really matter. The best revenge isn't getting even. It's living well. It's standing firm in your worth and waiting for others to recognize it. It's choosing self-respect over being chosen by someone who doesn't value you. It's loving someone enough to let them make their own mistakes and learn their own lessons. Sometimes the people we love most have to lose us to understand what they had. Sometimes they have to choose other people to realize we were the right choice all along. Sometimes they have to fall down to remember who taught them how to get back up. My son learned that lesson. It took a year of being married to someone who only loved his potential, not his reality. It took losing everything he thought mattered to remember what actually did matter. It took swallowing his pride and asking for help to understand that pride had been keeping him from love all along. But he learned it. And now he gets to live it. And I get to walk him down the aisle again. This time to someone who deserves him. This time to someone who sees him the way I always have. As someone worth loving exactly as he is. So if you're watching this and you're dealing with someone who makes you feel like you're not good enough, remember my story. Remember that your worth doesn't depend on other people's approval. Remember that real love doesn't ask you to change who you are or apologize for what you don't have. Remember that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away and let someone realize what they've lost. Don't beg for a place in someone's life. Don't compromise your dignity for someone's attention. Stand firm in your worth and wait for people who recognize it. The right people will see you clearly and choose you gladly. The wrong people will try to change you or hide you or make you feel ashamed of who you are. Let them go. Love yourself enough to let them go. Because when you stop accepting less than you deserve, you make room for people who will give you everything you've always wanted. You make room for real love, honest love, the kind that lasts through everything life can throw at you. That's the lesson I learned. And that's the lesson I taught my son. Not by lecturing him but by living it. Now, as I finish this story, I want you to know that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean pretending the hurt never happened. It means choosing to love someone despite the pain they caused. It means giving them a chance to do better while protecting yourself from being hurt the same way again. It means setting boundaries and sticking to them. It means requiring changed behavior, not just apologies. Real forgiveness is earned through actions, not just words. My son earned his way back into my heart by showing me he'd learned from his mistakes. He didn't just say he was sorry. He became someone different, someone better, someone who valued love over appearances and relationships over reputation. Someone who understood that the people who love you when you have nothing are the people worth keeping when you have everything. That's the person he is now. And that's the person Sarah fell in love with. Not the fake version of himself he used to present to the world, but the real him. The him I raised. The him I always believed he could be again. In a few months, I'll put on that navy blue dress again. I'll do my hair and put on my sensible shoes and walk into another wedding venue. But this time everything will be different. This time I'll be walking down the aisle with my head held high, knowing I belong there. Knowing I earned my place not through money or connections, but through love. Through years of showing up, through nights of worrying, through the countless small sacrifices that add up to a lifetime of devotion. Through the strength to let go when I needed to and the grace to welcome him back when he was ready. This time, when people see me walking my son down the aisle, they won't whisper about why I'm there. They'll see a mother who raised a good man. They'll see a woman who stood firm in her worth until others recognized it too. They'll see real love in action. Not the kind that depends on circumstances, but the kind that endures through everything. The kind that says, "I'll be here when you're ready to come home." The kind that teaches lessons through actions, not just words. The kind that believes in second chances but requires changed behavior to earn them. And when my son looks at me as we walk down that aisle together, he won't see someone he's ashamed of. He'll see his hero. He'll see the woman who never gave up on him, even when he gave up on himself. He'll see the person who taught him what real love looks like by living it every single day. He'll see his mom, and he'll be proud to have me by his side. Not because I've changed or become someone different, but because he finally learned to see me clearly. Because he finally understood what he'd had all along. That's the real victory in this story. Not that I got chosen in the end, but that my son learned to choose wisely. Not that I won some competition with another woman, but that my son learned what's worth competing for and what isn't. Not that I got my way, but that I stayed true to myself until others learned to value what I'd always known I was worth. Sometimes the best thing you can teach someone is to let them learn it for themselves. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is the chance to miss you and realize what they lost. My son learned that lesson, and now he gets to live the rest of his life with that wisdom. He gets to love Sarah with the full knowledge of what real love costs and what it's worth. He gets to be a husband who values his wife not for what she brings to his image, but for who she is in her heart. He gets to be a man who chooses substance over surface, character over reputation, love over everything else that pretends to matter but doesn't. And someday, if he has children of his own, he'll teach them these same lessons. Not by lecturing them, but by living them. The cycle continues, but this time it's a cycle of wisdom instead of mistakes. This time it's a cycle of choosing love over fear, authenticity over appearances, real relationships over fake ones. This time it's a cycle of standing firm in your worth and teaching others to recognize it. Thanks for watching Granny's Voice. Please subscribe.